Thank you, Tobias. I just have to jump in and say I'm always overwhelmed in you. And you rightly pointed out, we are also learners. Yeah, thanks. Let's open the floor to your questions, as Tobias said. Yeah, please. Or maybe you have to digest. I mean, that was a lot.
I guess I'll start. Hi, Michael, Tobias. Thank you, Sylvia. Appreciate the sharing. I stumbled on the program maybe 6 months ago, and I just kind of put it in the to look into a pocket of my brain. But then I got the notice about this call, so I'm glad I participated. Gave me better insights into the really holistic approach that you're evolving, really at the kind of cutting edges, I think, of thinking and being and doing in this world. So I very much appreciate the quality of the thinking and the holistic nature and how you're combining not just design thinking and engineering, but really unique inner development as well. So that's an excellent approach. I guess I guess the three types of questions that I might have is I'm a little bit of kind of tracing down some of the origins, and we don't need to go here, but there's a body of knowledge that you're drawing on, and there's a set of resources that you've used to get you to where you are as a community. And I suspect there's a body of knowledge that builds out that community, which is part of the learning process. So I'm kind of interested in that, but I'll put that on the side. Really, the two questions I had may have to do with one, just getting involved with the mocks, how to get started with that and get the kind of online training. So I can make some sort of soft commitment to the learning process without a hard commitment to, pursuing a master's degree. And then the second was, and Michael, I think we were through the Mighty Network. I really do look at your community with a lot of admiration. I saw on one of your panels, several people that I've interacted with, John Fullerton, for example, and others. So there's kind of networks of networks within this, and I'm also kind of interested in that kind of network of networks that you have. I just finished the Regeneristus course with Bill the Santa Fe. I just forgot. I think I saw his name up there. So I'm kind of interested in that kind of network. So I guess the one actionable question, Michael, I think I'm going to send you a note afterwards, and then I want to explore, just how do I get involved with the training on the online courses.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we certainly have another call on that, but well, I can say that the start is the MOOC series.
Yeah.
No, this is the self-paced course, the foundation for everything, and Sylvia and Tobias nicely showed it earlier on. So just picture you would start with CAS3. What would that mean? So what would be the preconditions for starting CAS3? That would be from a MOOC point of view, would do MOOC 1, MOOC 2, and then while you are entering the CAS3 realm, you would also start and slowly come into the MOOC 3 course. Having said that, Tobias, you certainly want to add that MOOC 3 will be certainly very different to the MOOC 1, MOOC 2 courses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's I think important. So the CAS1 and CAS2, not so MOOC 1 and MOOC number 2 are quite a unit that feeds from each other. And it also takes in live conversations a lot of direct feedback to some of, or context to some of the content in a specific MOOC. So these are somehow the so important preconditions to then act more with specific methodologies and ways of inquiry, which have been infused again through the entire program. So when we develop a serious game in CAS number 1, that's a serious method, a serious game method, which we practiced in practice. So that's already one element of this pathway. But now we're expanding much more. And so when we, for example, look at life cycle assessment, we would be online. We would first, in the kind of respective MOOC, look at a simple, let's say, just to be frank, a simple teaching video of how to life cycle analysis. There's plenty of stuff out there. Looking at a specific study that we have, let's say, deep relation, or that's part of our own research. So it's a part that we are deeply familiar with. And then we would, once we are waiting online here with whoever teaches then this module, we would either take a kind of generic data set and practice this method in a way that someone has the context with it and can say, okay, I know how to work further with it or where to learn more. Or, and this might be the case depending then on the quests of that cohort, ideally take data, real data from one of the quests of one of the participants and work with the data. So wherever we can be specific to the context of a quest and work with the data, and likely will evolve over the development. And some participants from CAS1, CAS2 with quite evolved quests might already have an idea and opportunity to work with them. And then we might have sessions where someone says, you know what, I studied engineering and I'm actually very familiar with this and this method. Perfect. So maybe this person says, I'm not there today. Or this person says, you know what, I could contribute. I could teach from my experience in this and be more active in another field. So this kind of pulsating will be part of the nature of CAS3 and MOOC number 3. MOOC number 3 will basically commence with the CAS a bit earlier because we need to do some preparation, but it's more like a hand-in-hand process, which is different, as Michael said, than CAS1 and CAS number 2 in the respective pre-preparation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael, I think we can elaborate on that
maybe one word, Michael, regarding the communities. I think that's a very important point. You mentioned Regenesis and the different
Bill Reed. I forgot his name, but it was Bill
Reed.
Reed.
Bill Reed, and there's also Bill Sharp, and there's a lot of
Bill Sharp as well. I mean,
exactly.
I just saw a whole bunch of names I've interacted with over the last few years.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting to me because it is all about bringing kind of networks in ways, forming networks that can create value added towards the system.
Yeah, so that's I think that's a big strength of how Wins brings in their own networks. Daniel Wahl has a quite amazing weaving network in these fields, and we benefit a lot from Daniel bringing in specific people. And yeah, I mean, you might have seen we had Johan Rockström here, Tim Lenton from the kind of top-notch leading science world, and then different experts from different fields. We will start with Peter Jones, he's at Technologico de Monterrey.
Oh, he does multi-level design, is that right?
Well, he's in the field of systemic design. He's co-founder of Systemic Design Association. And he and Birger Sigvaldason are some of the, let's say, early conveners of the field of systemic design. And these are some of the, let's say, very appreciated experts that bring us in, and that are also part of this continuous development process.
Well, if I remember his work, maybe from 10 or 12 years ago, it was multi-level design using the design triangle at three or four levels of the system, at the product level, at the systems level, at the place level. I'd be interested in that. If Peter's part of that, you might actually stimulate me even more. I've been watching his work for years.
Yeah. And then there's fields. So just your example, you have your specific rich knowledge. And so how can we tap into this? How can we react with what the cohort brings? So we have a kind of a matrix, a scaffolding that obviously is there, but it needs to be fluid and responsive, adaptive to what we're doing. So which is also walking the talk. The plan, the master plan is only as good as the reality will lead us to. So there's space, space for co-design.
I have a question, if I can.
Sure, shoot.
Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you first of all for the presentation. Very interesting topic. I have a bit of a very practical question about the sort of the requirements. So the first thing I wanted to ask is I've done MOOC 2 until there is content, but I asked edX and it seemed like there are other modules coming. So I wanted to double check if MOOC 2 is actually finished or not. And in order, I guess, to then apply for CAS3. And the other thing, in terms of the requirements, I was looking on the website, it seems that we need some sort of masters. And I was just wondering if that's true, because I kind of had the feeling that during the conversation this evening, it was more about having experience and knowledge, obviously not, work experience. So I just wanted to confirm that too. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe last question first. To do the Master of Advanced Studies, ETH, one needs to have a master degree, a consecutive master degree for the final master. Sorry. To participate in a CAS, a bachelor study program is accepted. And that's just a regulation of the School for Continuing Education, ETH. So a formal education, bachelor master, needs to be presented for the CAS, a bachelor, for the final a master. In exceptional cases, we can admit also someone from a non-formal pathway. We talk a lot about different ways of knowing, especially in MOOC CAS number 1, of also appreciating different types of knowledge. And so we attempt to walk the talk as much as we can administratively legally. So we have the practical opportunity to bring, for example, someone in who has a certain, let's say, indigenous knowledge path they would love to integrate. This person cannot do the official master, but there is a way to participate in the program in exceptional case as well. So we are aware of these aspects, yet it's a let's say a leading technical university, and there's the regulations we have to be also part of. But I'd say the transformation and the integration happens from within by already having an opportunity to appreciate and bring in other ways of knowing, which is part of our opening in the system. So bachelor, yes, one can do the official CAS. The first question, yes, MOOC number 2, I mean, we know it ran in a complete first iteration. Then we had quite some feedback and we were iterating the first prototype. And so until 2.3, it's now open. And so we had a delay from our side to open the other modules because there were a lot of, let's say internal discussions where some tuning would make sense or not. And then you depend on many people. And then time, let's say, took longer than we hoped for. So it's on us right now to open the rest of the modules. And we discussed this in our group already. It's happening now in August. Because of our delay in the second iteration, there's 2,500 people who took already the first iteration. We will not be, let's say, hard on the deadlines to obviously to finish MOOC number 2. So if it's not fully open, you cannot finish it. That's on us. And we said if someone has done MOOC number 1 and MOOC number 2, not yet in the first iteration, but is doing the second iteration, if this person has, let's say, proceeded until the modules are open, we have time until the start of the program, mid-October, to proceed with the remaining modules. So this is the time, obviously, again, it's on us in this iteration. We will speed up with this. Now it's a bit more space in August. And there's also the needed feedback coming in from certain other experts that we invited.
Tobias, just one thing. On my edX, I see like 2.2. I don't see 2.3 module.
Until 2.3, so 2.3 is the one that needs to be opened.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's social networks, social and bracket networks. I'm positive that the next days, next modules will pop up. So stay also tuned. We are here. We are cranking, using the word cranking hard on it. and same time being also soft with each other. So whoever applies, obviously right now one cannot finish MOOC number 2 in the second iteration. If someone has done the first iteration, it counts.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, first of all, for hosting this meeting. And it had been a while since something resonated to me, like the contents and the purpose of the DRRS course does. So it feels encouraging that people like you are actually coming together and building the platforms we need to build these perceptions. I have a couple of questions. The first one is pretty straightforward, like the ones Filippo placed. So I see in the application form and also on the website that German is there as a requirement within brackets. So I'd like to know if that's strictly necessary. And the second one is a bit more abstract. So it relates to the quests we strive for with this program. I see it in a more how can I put it, like subjective way, but like a way of manifesting or interpreting our own goals, our own view over the world, using different tools in different areas. So maybe you could clarify that a bit better for me. When you talk about a quest and you talk about a quest, a group of participants develops when they go on a trip field and or throughout the course, is that something or is that general quest something that merges individual quests? Is that predefined at the beginning of the course, considering, for example, that we will be addressing Mallorca? Or we don't know, or we have some guesses of what path we are going to take on that quest. So yeah, putting it shortly, is the quest something that basically creates itself, or are the participants expected to have a concrete idea from the beginning? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So English is fine. The whole course is English, so don't worry. The quest, so we're asking for a kind of one pager with text and a graphical element on the specific personal interest, why the DRS program is relevant to someone who applies. So it's the start of starting a conscious process. Why am I interested, and what is actually my motivation, my set of basic questions, why I would like to learn more or exchange more or study more or meet other people in a similar field, get motivated. So it can start very basic, but it's the start of putting onto paper and also having a kind of visual expression of why actually am I interested in regeneration. It can be anything, as diverse as the 11 or 12 nations that we have in our program right now. And the different fields, as Michael mentioned. So an architect, someone who has a farm in somewhere and might develop the farm as a kind of holistic research learning living system lab. And someone else said, I'm in a company, I need different tools to work in my company, all the way to I'm on a personal transformation path. So that's very specific to the person. It can be anything. There's no boundary for that. The program is as well holistic. It's both us as kind of mentors. It's different other experts who come in. It's the peers, the peer group, and also other peers that someone brings as kind of learning partners to oneself, which might be outside the program. So this is evolving, and we are now, for example, in class number 2, having a peer phase where we have pairs, dyads or triads of 2 or 3 participants, and they practice to short present the current state of the quest to the other. They practice to listen and give feedback and help to deep dive in the evolving aspects. And when we have a deliverable at the end of the CAS, which we can frame as a kind of process tool to again express in written and in graphical and also in kind of systemic ways, how does the content, the diverse content of a CAS relate with my own quest process? And what is my accompanying inner process on this part? So it's not only engineering that system out there, but what happens with me inside on a kind of mental scaffolding meta-awareness. So this is maybe, yeah, as diverse as it is, it evolves. We are asking questions. The quest is based, it's really started with a set of evolving questions, which then can be hierarchized, which can be clustered, and which change over time. And we see quests that shift the direction because something suddenly evolves over time. And it is a process, so it's a maturing process that, as we saw in the other graphic, will eventually sort of plateau only usually at the very end of the program.
All right, thank you.
Is this a kind of response to a question?
Yeah, it is. It is more actually like towards the end when you spoke about the ways you're supposed to present how the learning has resonated to you, the tools you use, written, graphic, and systemic ways as well. That's pretty much what I was trying to understand.
So in this CAS, for example, when we look at the different modes of inquiry in the 5 different fields, then one task likely will be, we learn, for example, about a life cycle analysis, and then the task would be show an application of life cycle analysis or assessment data in relation to a quest. Would it be of help somewhere? Maybe not. And it would be discussed, and ideally it would be shown how it relates or not with one specific quest. So, and that would be done with most of these methods. So where does social network analysis help? To me, it helps in any social process, for example. So how do I do that? How do I interpret some of these metrics for my specific case, where I can read from a kind of relational view on collaborative structures, for example, how I can find a kind of spheres of influence to move something forward. So just as an example, and this I would say has value for any question that has to do with us, with any kind of social aspect. Yeah, and some others, I mean, photogrammetry, and might have no relation with one's own quests, for example, but then it could be seen as a metaphor. What we've learned there could be possibly taken as a tool to just interest someone for this way of collecting and processing data.
Clear. Thank you.
All right, being mindful time-wise. Oh yeah, we have another question. So please.
Good evening, Michael. It's Corinne.
Good evening.
Hello, everybody. I will echo what Hugo has said. I discovered the MOOC series a month or so ago, and it has been a very long time since anything has resonated with me as much as what that series does. And apologies for not putting on my camera. I have 2 questions, please. The first, I suspect I know the answer to. If you could please confirm that for the CAS learning pathway, it requires one to be in country. I am very proudly South African, based in Johannesburg. So that's just a logistical question that I have. And then the second one, I come from the mining industry. I work in strategy and sustainability. And it is shocking to me how behind the mining industry is in its thinking when it comes to sustainability. So entirely out of curiosity, I'm curious to know to what extent you have engaged with the mining industry in general, or have had participants on the course, I guess, whose quest is related to mining related to scenarios. Thank you.
Great question. So I start with the mining industry. We don't have a student or participant in the first or second cast at this moment, but we have a long-term dialogue with the sustainability responsible person in Switzerland's largest mining and road construction engineering company, where we have been in a exchange over the last 2 years or so, both for the actual interest of this company, this business, how to bring in more sustainability and towards regeneration thinking, cultures, pathways into that industry. We have developed a couple of connections in other countries, where this company is also busy and active, and have been elaborating different partnerships with other tech universities in these countries, because this company has reported they are looking for new workforce, which is really hard to get. So we are in an active process of developing relations with this and other mining type of companies, where they would sponsor a kind of study seat in this program with the kind of tech university in that country where they are also active and need employees. So we're conscious of this process and this pathway, and I can say it's very close and directly what we're doing and how to intervene in complex systems. And we learn a lot from this living system lab or real world labs, where the kind of back and forth and the kind of enacting with these wobbly is one of the, I would say, core inspiring and informing and fueling lessons and contexts for evolving, developing this program. So in short, I hope we get you in from this field, mining, and we have, as I said, for a longer time, different experts from this field in our discussion network, and would love to bring them in, amongst others, when we see that someone from this field is in the program and has direct connection to that.
That's amazing. Thank
And
you.
the first question,
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, Alex, I was thinking of you.
Yeah, I'm not in the mining industry, but I was a student in CAS1, and I've done the MOOCs 1 and 2. I'm more in the tech side of using electrochemistry for metallurgical, extractive metallurgy. So yeah, I mean, we could connect if you wanted. And yeah, so I'm in the US, and I work on rare earth metals as well as carbon-free steel, and some other metals as well, like aluminum. So be happy to chat with you. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think the course overall is a great shift in mindset. And it's interesting how that would play out in mining, which is very extractive, and how does that gel with the regeneration idea? I think I'm still chewing on that one. So, but yeah.
Well, I'll take you up on the offer, Alex. Would love to engage. Thank you.
Yeah, great, Alex. Thank you. Coming back to the first question, Tobias.
Can you remind me of the first question, please?
Well, I think
Current?
If one needs to be in
exactly.
country.
Yeah. Well, the field design trip, in this case to Spain, Balearic Islands, yes, that's a mandatory part of the program. Just for this week. And the reason behind it, it's quite unique. We're having basically a complete hybrid / off location program, for the reason that we just want to limit travels all the time anywhere. And so the entire MIS program can be taken from distance only. There's this 1 week between 7 and 10 days, once a CAS, which we designed in a way that the didactics, let's say the embodied cognition and experiential didactics, are based in a way that we achieve something that I know by heart can maybe be achieved in a conventional classroom setting over an entire semester, maybe, but I don't think so. So this is how we, let's say, try to bring these different worlds together of needing and benefiting from deep physical exchange, also in the kind of place specificity, and yet enabling people from all over the world to participate in the program without too much travel emissions that we, of course, need to try to reduce.
That too is great news. Thank you.
And let me add, you wouldn't be alone in traveling so far. We have the current participants are coming from India, Indonesia, which is far away too. Yeah, we highly appreciate their participation in the field trips. We know that's a huge effort.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a very quick one on that one. What about like fixed schedule? Like you said, we would meet every Tuesday and Wednesday. Is there any other commitments in terms of fixed? Because obviously I have other work commitments, so I wanted to know how that would work. Thank you.
Micha, do you want to take that?
Sure, yeah. Well, again, we are trying to be as dynamic, as flexible as possible, but we kind of have to commit to a certain date. And usually, as it turned out, the Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m. CET, are the ones that are best for most of the participants. I just introduced a colleague from Indonesia. He has some hard times to participate. The time difference is a huge challenge, but he hangs in there and he's doing it. So normally the virtual part of the course would consist of fixed days, so to speak, Tuesdays, where we introduce and host a guest speaker. And then Wednesdays, the following day, where we are in a more informal setting, in a more private setting, the group as such, and we are discussing the content that we the day before learned and got presented. So that would be the rough structure scaffolding for the sessions.
Always at 8? Always at 8 on Wednesday too?
This time we set it up at 7 p.m. Yeah, but it's in the evening. So we have some family members, etc. It's always, not as easy.
But there are no other timely commitments, and these live conversation also recorded, so it always happens. It's a professional degree program, so it's designed that people have a job and have families, and that's in full appreciation, and that hasn't been an issue at all. So it works really well.
And so we'll be doing MOOC 3 at the same time as CAS3. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the MOOC 3, as tied a bit on earlier, it has a different role of not so much preparing the main language and theory as we need for the live conversations, but the live conversations, sort of the Tuesday evenings, will be more methods, practices. So we have a couple of conversations where we just need to understand Peter Jones, the context, for example. But at the end, it's much more of someone illustrating, explaining the specific method of interest. And then we have to see, also given the expertise sharing in our group, how much let's say, further practice with this or with other experts will be required. And the MOOC number 3 will provide a bit, let's say, I mentioned the example of lifecycle analysis. So there will be a video about what is lifecycle analysis, how does it work, which you find on YouTube as well. So that collection will be there. But the practice of navigating within these relational values is very specific to either a certain illustration or to the specific case of that particular quest, to make it explicit. So this is a new direction for these MOOCs to accompany basically almost in parallel the CAS with further opportunities to get kind of further resources on these methods. So it's less of a pre-preparation, but a kind of simultaneous hovering within this part. And then given the nature of these different quests and also the challenge of having in such a 5 types of inquiry, a relational value setting that is, let's say, someone different background, different people, different cultures can relate with, is the idea that some of these content that we're producing in the specific discussion of applying different methods to a specific case will at the end also nurture back in this MOOC. And when you remember the tree graphic of our system, then there is this feedback system from a CAS into the MOOC. And this happens in many ways. The classic way for now is that an alumni, like you, for example, brings their experience back into the MOOC, which is, of course, awesome, because that's someone who has done the program, brings in their own experience as a co-teacher. That's happening. Then what I mentioned earlier, the AI expert from industry who offered in our program a live conversation. And then this went so well that we asked this person, do you want to come in and be in our CAS group as a kind of AI pulsator who has a lot of technical but also practical knowledge in this big industry that they work, where AI in a conscious, careful way has or has not value and how it works. So this person can accompany us. And that's also something that is a bit different to capture in the MOOC beforehand. So that's why it's a kind of process accompanying of feeding back and forth and pulsating a bit with the CAS itself. And then we see how this works and what kind of second iteration this MOOC will then take after this first run.
So we generously exceeded time, but thank you very much for your great questions. Very helpful.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, Peter
Michael?
Jones, Peter, you, I mean, Michael, again, we also have a culture from our group. If someone says, well, this would be an awesome person to invite and to bring in, that's always open.
Yeah.
So everybody has their own networks, and that's also, we learn from it with each other.
Yeah,
so
we learn together, co-create.
Yeah. In addition to, I mean, it shouldn't sound like we're waiting for the content to come in. We have a very specific idea of
Of course.
Why, but it's flexible and open, as it I think should be. All right.
Michael, talk next week.
Yeah, sure. Looking forward to it.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participating. Have a great day.